Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie Gawkner, and this is Both Sides of the Aisle. I represent the political center and have on the political right John Dougal.
Hey, great to be with you.
And on the political left, Shireen Gorbani.
Hello, listeners. So glad you're with us. I hope you're getting some rain. It's been interesting weather out there.
And I love it.
And Natalie and I survived convention.
Yeah. It was a busy political weekend for sure. But, what a tough weekend when we had yet another act of political violence occurring in our country. This one in our nation's capital, at the White House Correspondents Dinner. This is at the Washington Hilton. Isn't this the same hotel where Ronald Reagan had an assassination attempt?
Absolutely. Right after he became president. I was actually there for a conference a year and a half ago. So
Cole Thomas Allen, 31-year-old teacher from California, is the alleged perpetrator. How did this go down in your world, Shireen?
Well, I got to say, it was interesting to see, I would say, the way in which this feels like it's become incredibly normalized. Mm-hmm. So people didn't seem particularly shocked. Certainly the people in that room experienced a traumatic event. Curious and interesting to see how quickly those who control the trolls online pretty immediately started making this about the need for Trump's ballroom. There was clearly a very coordinated message, that came out after that. I think what this suggests to me is just, again, a fraying of our social contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you say normalizing of it, one of the social media videos that went viral was of the ballroom with most people kind of tucked down underneath the tables before they knew what was really happening, and one gentleman that just stayed at the table and continued to eat.
Yeah.
Did you see this one?
Yeah.
He sat there for a minute, and then he thought, well, that looks good, and he's that seems like normalization.
Don't let a good meal
John.
go to waste.
Yeah. How about in your world, John?
I think one, clearly there's a message which is security work to a certain extent. I mean, the gunmen, did not get in the ballroom, did not injure or kill anyone. Mm-hmm. We had the one officer, Secret Service agent, who was shot in his bulletproof vest.
Thank goodness for those vests. Thank goodness.
But I would look from my perspective, and the way the individual got in and the video that I saw makes me wonder what was going on. I mean, I'm just concerned that the Secret Service might be lacking in imagination of how an attack might go down. This could have been so much worse. Mm-hmm. Not thinking of a gunman, but something even worse than that, given the political dynamics and the war we have going on with Iran. I mean, it could have been horrific.
Yeah.
And I think, to Shireen's point, about the ballroom, I think there's clearly the message, which is it is very difficult to secure the president wherever he is. There's constant attacks. And it's not just this president, all presidents. Mm-hmm. There's threats against their life, attacks on their life. And it's just becoming increasingly difficult to secure them, and regardless of what arena they're in.
I have a lot of fears about what the future looks like in this context. We think about TSA and how different air travel is ever since 9/11. And it makes you wonder if these types of events have been changed forever. And not just because of this, but because of the series of political violence, and what it means. I was a part of a event with Governor Cox and Senator Sinema where somebody rushed the stage. I'm on stage when that happened. I had some post-traumatic stress from it. And I have to think that the next time the Salt Lake Chamber hosts this event, they're going to have different security.
Right.
And that's my TSA references. We're going to start to see that these luncheon events, these hotel events are going to have more, right now in Salt Lake City at least, no metal detectors. You just go to the events.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Might be changing.
Might be changing, yeah.
Not a fun thought. Now, normally...
No, I'm going to highlight one other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, these Secret Service agents were working, and last I understood, they hadn't been paid for like 10 weeks or something, with Congress fighting over funding for Homeland Security Department.
Yeah. Hey, this is a little bit of a different kind of transition, but I think we should talk about Sharon McMahon at this time, right? Because we just talked about... what's happened with this violence over the weekend. Sharon McMahon, of course, is the commentator who was asked uninvited from giving her commencement speech at UVU because of what some viewed as insensitive comments after the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Well, she had made comments, and people, various folks, were upset, concerned with the comments she made, and then UVU supposedly said they couldn't guarantee her safety. There were safety concerns as a result. And I was at UVU for the Republican convention this weekend, and there were metal detectors going into the arena.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I bring it up in this context because here's close to home where we had political violence, and then you have what a lot of people called America's teacher, because she's
government teacher. Yeah,
she's very good on social media about teaching about the principles upon which our nation was founded and operates. But when she was invited to speak, it created such an uproar that they had to.
But I think we need to be specific.
Go ahead.
It created such an uproar because of pressure from our elected officials who want to cry foul about cancel culture and canceled this woman. That is what they did. So we're talking about Mike Lee absolutely losing his mind over her coming to speak at UVU for the third time. So this is not the first time she's been there. She's a very reasonable, a very measured, a highly educated person when it comes to talking about our government and how it works. And to see Mike Lee, Mike Schultz, Stuart Adams, it sounds like Burgess Owens got involved in this as well, lobbying UVU, Trevor Lee actually saying, and this is like extortion as far as I'm concerned, to UVU, we're going to withhold your funds if you have her on your campus. She teaches the principles of our Constitution. She has a group called the Governors who get together and read books about government. Why is this scary to them? I think is the real question.
I think
Are nerds popular these days, or are they still out of vogue?
The word that stuck with me, Shireen, is the insensitivity of at the place where Charlie Kirk was assassinated to have in the next commencement speech someone who had said some things that had alienated some people. Now, let's just read what she wrote.
Yes.
She essentially said, this is after the Kirk murder, and she's trying to help people understand why different people disagree about it. And
I do think it's important to say the very first thing that she said is this is horrific and not the country I want to live in.
For sure. She said that millions of people feel they were harmed, and the murder that was horrific and should never have happened does not magically erase what was said or done. But if you were a Charlie Kirk fan, you might not realize where there's so much backlash to post-eulogizing his death. And then she used his words.
Yes.
Which you can ask, were they in context, out of context? But that's what got her in trouble in this regard, John.
And frankly, our Republican leaders who simply do not actually want us to get into these difficult conversations.
Yeah.
I would suggest there's a difference between speaking at commencement and speaking just on the campus. And
I think
so
there's a platform you're given at commencement.
I don't think she was ever, forbidden from coming to campus to speak on campus. I just think when it came to commencement, there were various folks that did not think commencement was the appropriate forum for that type of event, because so many students feel like, I don't have a choice whether or not to attend. It's my graduation. I want to attend my graduation.
Okay, you do have a choice to attend or not attend. I did not attend any of mine. I just am saying, you have a choice.
No, but
you actually do have a choice.
No, but for a lot of folks. And when you go into some of the free speech discussions when it comes to high school, I know high school is different than college.
Yeah.
When we're talking about prayers and other things at commencement, it is a somewhat expected that you're going to attend.
Every once in a while, my husband and I will talk about events in our lives that we wish we could roll back. We wish would have never happened, and this whole Charlie Kirk thing gets in that category for me, that the series of events, even the notion of hosting it outdoors.
Yeah.
The minute this happened, in conversations I was with youth security, they mentioned that at our campus that we would have had this an indoor event.
Right.
And so there's just this series of things that, and then just this troubling radicalization of a young man. And anyway.
And to me, the bigger concern, I know Shireen was talking about cancel culture. The thing that's more concerning to me is the threat of political violence, or that due to safety concerns, we don't think it's safe for this person to speak at this event. And that's more concerning to me, regardless of who the individual is. We need to be a better society than that.
Yeah.
And I just can't let this go by without noting, I have to say, some part of me wonders, Charlie Kirk's whole thing was apparently free speech. I just wonder if we apply that logic to this. What is going on with our representatives that they're so afraid?
Yeah. Okay, well, that's an interesting. So how do I transition from that to Iran or to cannabis reclassification? Let's go to cannabis.
Okay, is that okay?
What are you smoking, Natalie?
I mean, a lot of people say, I don't like the president's style or his character, but I like his policies. This is one that a lot of people really like, that he's basically reclassified or started the process to reclassify cannabis as a less dangerous substance, particularly, in the medicinal framing.
Are you going to start talking psychedelics too?
Well, I think that this is, when I was a young girl, my father was a physician, and he used to go around to schools in the Salt Lake County area, and he would show them marijuana in a little vial.
Oh, yeah.
A little leaf of marijuana, and he would talk about it. And so as a young girl, I used to go sneak down into his bedroom and pull the drawer where he had his little vial of marijuana and just show it to my friends.
Yeah. Radical.
Oh,
Radical.
man.
Now my
Scofflaw.
my father's has passed and has been gone for 20 years or so, but I just this is a drug that's tracked me my whole life.
Oh, interesting. Well, so one of the things that's really I think good about this and important about this is that the reclassification as a Schedule III substance allows for study of medicinal uses. So we certainly have some. It's just been very hard to have true, academic, rigorous studies on marijuana because of the drug classification. And there are many people, there are people, I think, prominently in this state who have talked about what an important medicine this has been for controlling whether it's chronic pain, cancer, or ongoing, chronic illnesses. So to have this in more of a structured research setting is important.
Regulated in this way. This is a different kind of argument, but the main thing that troubles me about marijuana is that it's a gateway to other things, a gateway drug. That's
Well, and part of my concern here is there's a couple things. One, I hear too much of we're going to change this because of we want the youth vote, which is the wrong reason to do it. Now, I have concerns that the federal government has overscheduled this. I think there's benefits to it for some folks, but clearly it's a gateway drug for other folks. And I think the federal government has been too involved when it comes to the FDA and federal regulation of drugs. But when you bring it back to home, we talk about legalizing versus decriminalizing. And I'm one of those that I'm in favor of decriminalizing because legalizing means I put a stamp of approval on it that government says use of this drug is okay. And I would rather the government is silent on that and people with their doctors choose to do what they do rather than getting into this of, hey, yippee, this is good.
You've tapped into an issue here that I think is still quite concerning is the number of people that remain in jail or prison for charges related to marijuana that simply should have been addressed. And there was the First Step Act that was also under Trump, though that was many years in the making, to address the injustices there that typically are worse for Black and brown communities. But I think that there's a lot of work that can be done to create some justice around that as well.
Yeah. You guys want to go to another topic or should we take a short break?
Let's take a break.
Okay. Natalie Gochner.
Let's go get some munchies.
John Dougal and Shireen Gurbani. Stay tuned, everyone.
You're listening to Both Sides of the Aisle on UPR. We love to hear from our listeners like you. If you would like to send us a comment, email bsotapodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that's bsotapodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Shireen Gurbani on the left.
John Dougal, still sober on the right.
And Natalie Gochner in the political center. This is Both Sides of the Aisle. I want to start by talking about a term I'd never really heard before, John and Shireen. It's this term denaturalization. I find it so interesting as social movements, as the world turns, in public policy, that new words emerge. And last week it was rearmament for me because I've always known about disarmament, but now we're in a period of rearmament. And now I learn about the Justice Department moving forward with a request from the president to revoke U.S. citizenship of hundreds of people that were born in foreign countries, and they're now being targeted to be denaturalized.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. I feel like illegal is what we should be calling this. There are some limited cases of this where people received citizenship through means that were fraudulent. But that is not what we're necessarily talking about here. What we're talking about is specific either political enemies or individuals that have been called out for whatever reason that he would like to strip their citizenship of. And I think this is a incredibly dangerous, slippery slope and something we should all be very concerned about.
The thing that I think of is just the opportunity cost, an economics term, of where you spend your time. If these people have been convicted of serious crimes, it's a different thing to me.
Or engaged in fraud.
Yeah.
But we are talking, 400 folks? So it's not like we're talking hundreds of thousands.
But it's setting
So
a
it's-
precedent, which you certainly can understand is troubling.
Yes, but it gets into, okay, what is the reason? What's behind it?
Well, I'm working on an issue right now that deals with a student that is from outside of our country that qualifies for a student visa and trying to work through the paperwork that is that. And I'm like, we've got to make it so legal immigration is easier and, structured in a way that's not bureaucratic, and then focus our time on really, truly dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Just a thought, John.
Well, so I get what you're saying about less bureaucratic. I think you want bureaucratic because you want consistency in how it's applied, but you want a straightforward process that people can navigate and understand, which we clearly don't have today.
Yeah.
When you talk about, well, just go back and get in line. And for some folks, there is no line for you to get into.
Yep.
When I was young, I remembered the bumper stickers and the T-shirts that said, Virginia is for lovers.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go to Virginia and talk about what they've done with their congressional maps.
They ain't loving Republicans right now.
This is interesting. The way that this map is drawn, it will give Democrats an electoral advantage in 10 of 11 House districts. And in this upcoming midterm elections, it could turn as many as 4 new seats.
Yeah. So this is a state that I would say for quite a while was a swing state, would go back and forth between Republican control and Democrat control, that is clearly being skewed hardcore for the Democrats.
Didn't we know the minute President Trump started doing what he was doing in Texas that a Pandora's box was being opened? Didn't we know that?
I think we knew that. At least the three of us understood that was taking place. I do find it ironic that so many of the Democrats who have condemned gerrymandering have fully embraced it and then some.
Come on, John. I listen to the Sunday morning programs about this. The way they're classifying it is we're not going to unilaterally just stand down.
Completely. I'm with you on this. I
get that.
Here's the thing. Okay, John, I really have to ask you this.
You can't spend years professing, we need to get rid of gerrymandering, and then pretend like, it's beautiful and it's wonderful.
They have what's the Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act?
Voting Rights Act.
That was supposed to take care of this that the Republicans blocked.
And we believe, actually, Democrats believe that nationwide gerrymandering should be illegal. We should have fair maps across this entire country. Guess who won't sign on to that? Republicans. So we do not have a path to do this any other way than to fight fire with fire.
But for Democrats, that fair maps means their maps.
No, it doesn't, John.
This is what's interesting to me, because so many times people will argue things over, you can't be independent. The only independent is to keep it in the political realm. I'm like, I have more confidence in humans.
I wouldn't say the only independent is to keep it in the political round. The only accountable is to keep it in the political round.
Well, so an independent redistricting commission, is it really do we really think it's going to be so flawed that it's less independent than the political process?
Well, when you're talking, it's all a political process. At the end of the day, it's a political process.
What they say.
It doesn't have to be.
It's what it is.
That's what they say. I just put myself in the shoes of being if I was on a redistricting commission, I would listen to both the left and the right, and I would try to make judgments in the best interest of our state, and I wouldn't politicize it. That's just me. It's in my nature. But
you're saying right now, let's pick Utah. Let's pick Prop 4. Let's pick the map that the judge adopted. Yeah. Who, other than the judge, who really in their sane mind says that is not a gerrymandered map?
Okay, so tell me, though, John, in your sane mind, why is it that I don't have a single representative in Congress? I'm not alone. There are at least a quarter of people in this state who believe what I believe, who agree with me, and we are shut out. We have to be represented by people who are happy to be lapdogs to Donald Trump. That is not what the majority of the state is like.
And the way I come at it from the political middle on that is I'm not really thinking about, Shireen's got her 25%. She's not represented. We got to go gerrymander to make that. I'm just thinking about boundaries. I'm thinking about county boundaries, city boundaries, school district boundaries. And I'm like, there's some logic to that. I'm going to go force my redistricting to follow these communities of interest that have long been established and do the best I can with it. And in the process, something good will happen. Because you're in a community that is liberal and I'm going to follow
And Judge Gibson's map, did it follow communities of interest from your perspective?
Yes.
Because I would say it threw several out the window.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't studied enough. I reject her drawing these maps, but I also understand what was given to her.
What came to that?
And I do think that I've used this example before, but my daughter her local library is not in her congressional district, that's a problem.
And I will point out that where I live, Alpine and Highland have a much stronger community of interest than I would suggest Rose Park and Sugar House.
Okay, I would disagree with you, and you're together. Alpine and Highland are together.
We are not together. We are split. This map splits us
into 2 Republican districts.
Well, into 2 separate districts. But we go to
Republican
we
majority.
go to the same schools. We go to the same grocery store. I mean, and we are split.
You're going to get Republican
right
representation. So I think, I just have to say,
Well, no,
what
we're
you're
talking
arguing
about keeping
for,
communities of interest together.
Mill Creek was divided into 4 congressional districts. That makes no sense, John. It just doesn't. That's when you guys got to gerrymander. That's what you did. Mill Creek, 4 districts.
Yeah. Oh, this is a tough one. Okay. Hey, let's do some other.
My key
5
point-
minutes left. Let's go on to the conventions.
Well,
Go
we had
on.
some big convention news. Let's just go through
Let's
these.
just say everybody gerrymanders.
CD1, Liban? Is that how we say
Yeah,
it?
Liban Mohammed.
Wow. This is a Muslim son of Somali immigrants. A surprising upset. It was a crowded first congressional district field.
Why was it surprising?
I think because he's not known. And he was going against people that are a state senator, a city council person, a former congressman.
Yeah, well, I
Do
guess
you know this guy?
we've
You had some controversy coming in on 2 of those candidates.
Yeah, well, I
Sure,
just want to
fair.
point out, though, here in the end, so the top 2 vote getters were Liban Mohammed, who ultimately won with, I think it was 51% over Ben McAdams. But the actual vote total, and I think this is important, this was after numerous rounds because we do ranked choice voting. So come to round 5, Ben McAdams, 327 votes, Liban Mohammed, 342 votes. We certainly have a very progressive streak in the delegates in the Utah Democrats. And I think that turned out here. But it's also really important to say round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, Ben McAdams is sitting in first place. So we do also have, I think, a lot of people who are kind of looking for that steady as she goes voice someone we know.
But
who
in
can
the
get this
primary,
done.
you will get, I'll use last names, Bluin, Mohammed, McAdams, and Farrell.
Yes, they all collected signatures.
So that'd be interesting. How about
And I think that bodes well for McAdams. Because the
CD2.
progressives are going to split their vote.
CD2, interesting. This is Representative Blake Moore on the Republican side and the Utah House Representative
Carrie Ann
Lisenby, and she's popular.
She's definitely popular with the delegates. And one of the key things that's a knock on Blake Moore was his association with Prop 4.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at what's taking place right now, very unpopular with the delegates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CD3, is that Celeste Malloy?
It
CD3?
is.
That's the one Celeste Malloy is running for.
So she's got Phil Lyman, and they both will be on the primary. Is that how it
That's correct.
turned out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't get 60% or more, then the top 2 will go to the primary.
But
So
I think
that's what
this is similar because we're talking about really close ultimate vote totals on that, like almost 50-50, which I think is interesting given the way sometimes even we talk about the delegates, to see Phil Lyman did not clean house there.
No, he did not. There were lots of negatives for Phil going into this race, which when you looked at his race for governor 2 years ago versus today, there's a lot of folks that supported him 2 years ago that
What are the negatives you speak of? I'm not following.
they think one, he's too wrapped up with the gubernatorial race and is not admitting some of the issues that he was incorrect on, or
I see.
it hasn't moved past that.
Yeah.
He took some attacks at sheep farmers and your rural lifestyle, which upset a lot of folks. Celeste has delivered on and on for folks throughout rural Utah, and so there's a lot of support backing her. And then the interesting thing is you had Donald Trump come out for Celeste.
Now, I have to also ask this. I noticed that it was a pretty tight outcome for our former co-host, Senator Dan McKay. What happened there?
He's being primaried, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to go off to a primary, and I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I tell folks, unfortunately, you've got the situation that in politics, friends come and go, and enemies accumulate. And Dan's been there for a while, and made some tough votes and some tough calls.
Yeah.
And
In the
you have a challenger who has a light record because he's only been there just a very short period of time in the House.
It's a really good point, Dan. In the Leavitt administration, our governor would always talk about it as having a backpack, and political rocks are being put in the backpack, and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Hey, we just got 1 minute. Do you guys see that in West Bountiful there's some old dynamite that's been found, and they had an evacuation
Well,
this
you
week?
I did not see that.
What
but
do we know about it?
I don't know a whole lot, but I just think it's so interesting how you never know what's next door to you.
No, you don't. And when it was, I think, Mill Creek a few years ago, my son was on the hazmat team that first responded to that. So you start wondering about your first responders and their safety in those situations as well.
Yeah.
No kidding. Any big plans this week, you two?
I will just say I am looking forward to maybe a little bit less rain, though I know we need it.
Oh, the rain was beautiful this weekend. I'm doing some home repairs, so.
We needed it. All right. Well, such a great program. Great chatting with you. John Dougal, Shireen Gorbani. Our program's produced by Anthony Scoma. Thanks so much for all you do, Anthony, and have a great day, everyone.